Summary of Infinite Jest by David Foster Wallace. Note: the story isn't told in order, it's meant to be structured like a Sierpinski triangle, which is a mathematical pattern made up of triangles inside triangles. At Hal Incandenza's interview for entry to the University of Arizona, the university's deans are concerned that he may have cheated on his excellent but uneven application. Hal tries to convince the deans that the application is real, but they believe he is having a seizure or some type of mental episode, so they send him to the hospital. Hal always had trouble talking to his father, James, who is now dead. Hal would choke every time they talked. At the Enfield Tennis Academy in Enfield, Massachusetts, Hal shares a room with his bigger, disabled brother Mario. When Hal tries to talk to his other brother Oren over the phone, the line suddenly disconnects. The medical attaché to Prince Q, the Saudi Minister for Home Entertainment, wants to watch a film cartridge at the end of the day to unwind. He gets a mail delivery of an unidentified cartridge, which he puts in the teleputer, TP, to watch. Oren is an NFL player who has been having bad dreams about his mother, Avril. Hal is secretly hooked on marijuana, and he spends a lot of time getting high in the ETA pump room. Don Gately, who is 27 years old, is addicted to drugs and robs houses to pay for them. He breaks into Guillaume Duplessis' house and chokes him to death when Duplessis has a cold and can't breathe through his nose. The first headmaster of ETA was James Incandenza. When he died, his brother-in-law Charles Tavis took over. Charles and Avril slept together, and it's likely that Charles is Mario's real father. James and his father, James Sr., were both good at tennis when they were young. James Jr. went on to get a PhD in optical physics and then started making pictures that were considered to be avant-garde. Avril is from Quebec, and her marriage to James helped her get an American visa after she had trouble getting one because she had worked with Quebecois rebels when she was younger. James killed himself when he was 54 years old. Kate Gompert is in the hospital after trying to kill herself for the fourth time in 3 years. She tells her doctor that the pain of her sadness and how it ties in with her marijuana addiction is too much to bear. The medical attaché hasn't come to work yet, so Prince Q's personal helper goes to his house to see what's wrong. The assistant doesn't come back, and neither do the 2 security guards from the Saudi mission or the 2 Seventh-day Adventists who try to bring a pamphlet to the attaché's house. Everyone in this group now stands and looks at the attaché's TP. In Arizona, Hugh steeply meets with Remy Marathe, a Quebecois in a wheelchair who is a member of the rebel group AFR, the Wheelchair Assassins. Hugh is underground and pretending to be a woman named Helen, who is a reporter. Marathe is either a triple agent or a quadruple agent, because it is not clear if he is really working against the AFR or not. The two talk about a deadly film disc called the Entertainment that was sent to the attaché. The AFR wants to use the cartridge as a weapon of mass destruction to force Quebec to break away from both Canada and ONAN, the Organization of North American Nations. The Entertainment's creator is from Boston, which is the closest American city to the Great Concavity, a poisonous area that the US gave to Canada when ONAN was made. Enet House Drug and Alcohol Recovery House was started by an addict who thought recovery programs should be so strict that people should have to eat rocks to show they were serious about staying sober. This practice was finally outlawed. Michael Pemulis, an ETA student, goes to Boston to buy DMZ, a notoriously strong drug called Madam Psychosis, after the host of a cult radio show on WYYY, MIT's student radio station. Madam Psychosis smokes in the studio while the show is being taped. She sits behind a screen. Enet House is where the Enfield Marine Public Health Hospital used to be, which is a short walk from ETA. Kate now lives at Enet House, and Don Gately works there as a member of the staff. Hal, Pemulis, and their friend Trevor Axford plan their trip to the DMZ at ETA. They know that the trip will take 36 hours. Joelle Van Dyne plans to kill herself via overdose at her friend Molly Notkin's party. Joelle and Molly met when they were both getting their PhDs in film and film cartridge theory at MIT. Joelle is hooked on crack cocaine. She doesn't like using it anymore, but she doesn't think she can stop. After she tried to kill herself with a drug, she threw up in Molly's bathroom. Orrin calls Hal and tells him that a reporter, likely Helen Steepley, is writing a story about him. The brothers talk about what happened after James killed himself. Hal was the one who found the body of their father. Their father had put his head in a microwave. During Orrin's first year of college, he fell in love with a baton twirler named Joelle, whom he called the prettiest girl of all time, PGOAT. He moved from playing varsity tennis to playing varsity football so he could be with her. Joelle started dating Orrin, and Joelle started appearing in some of James's movies. Mario was born very early and had a lot of problems with his body and mind. Every year on Independence Day, ETA students play Escalating, a complicated game they came up with on their own. This year, the game turns into a huge fight, which Hal and the other older students do not like. Joelle goes to Enet house after failing to kill herself. Even though she always has a veil over her face, Gately is drawn to her. Back at ETA, Mario shows his yearly showing of a puppet-based movie he made about the start of Onan. In Arizona, Martha and Steepley argue about individual rights versus the good of the group as a whole. Madame Psychosis, played by Joelle, disappears from her radio station, and Mario, who likes her show, is upset. Steepley tells Martha about a Canadian scientific experiment in which animals were given a lever to pull that made electrodes in their brains feel great pleasure. Even though the animals died in the trial, when word got out about it, hundreds of young, healthy people tried to sign up to be test subjects. Back in Boston, members of the AFR go to the small-time Quebecois rebel brothers Lucien and Bertrand Antitoy's cartridge rental shop in search of the master copy of the entertainment. The copy they find, however, can only be read. One of them puts a broken broom handle down Lucien's throat to kill him. After the Escalating mess, all ETA students are given punishments, but the older ones get the worst ones. Hal and his friends are also told that they have to pee in a cup. Randy Lenz, a new resident at Enet House, keeps taking small amounts of cocaine and also starts to hurt animals. Rodney Tyne, who is in charge of the OUS, is doing everything he can to find the master copy of the entertainment and stop President Johnny Gentle from watching it himself to see what it's like. Back at ETA, Pemulus walks into Avril's room, which doesn't have a door, and sees her playing a sexual role with ETA student John Wayne. Bruce Green, who also lives in Enet House, and Lenz are walking home from an AA meeting. Lenz is high on cocaine and won't stop talking, but Green is thinking about sad memories from his own youth. Lenz grabs a dog and stabs it all of a sudden. Orrin is having sex with his latest subject, a Swiss hand model, in a hotel when a guy in a wheelchair comes to the door and asks him to fill out a survey. Orrin agrees, and the man asks him what he misses or what makes him feel sad. The talk doesn't last long though, because the man can see that Orrin is busy with something else. Outside of Enet House, Lenz and a group of Canadian guys get into a fight, and many other people join in, even though they don't know why. During the fight, one of the Canadians shoots at Gately. At ETA, they tell Hal and the others that their pee test won't be for 29 days. Hal stopped smoking pot, and now he feels like a completely different person. His classmates don't know what's wrong with him. Helen Steepley goes to ETA to talk to Hal for her profile on Orrin, but ETA employees don't want her to talk to him. Hal's game against Orthos Dice goes horribly wrong, and he loses his second-place rank at ETA. Kate and Ruth Van Cleve, another Enet House resident, are walking near Inman Square when a drug user named Poor Tony Kraus robs them and hurts Kate while taking their wallets. Hal watches one of his father's film cartridges and is upset by the vague, unresolved finish, which he thinks is too obvious. The AFR plan their next move, thinking if they should abuse Joelle and/or members of the Incandenza family to get them to help them find the master copy of the entertainment. Martha pretends to be a Swiss drug user who wants help when she goes to Enet House. Pat Montesian, who is in charge of Enet House, agrees to house him. He doesn't know if he should betray the AFR or not. He wants to do what is most likely to help his badly disabled, comatose wife Gertrude, who needs immediate medical care. Hal finally tells Mario the truth about his drug use and says that he doesn't know what to do and feels lost. He feels bad because he knows that Pemulus will be blamed for the problem of drug abuse at the ETA. Kate and Martha are getting drunk together at a jazz club in Inman Square. Kate, who is having a relapse, tells Martha that he doesn't really love his wife before she passes out. Hal goes to Enet house to get help for his illness. Molly is being questioned by OUS agents. She says that Madame Psychosis/Joelle's real name is Lucille Duquette and that she is from Kentucky. Joelle's father was physically attracted to her. When he finally admitted it, Joelle's mother tried to pour acid on him, but instead poured it on Joelle, making her ugly. Pemulus is told that he is being kicked out of ETA, which he doesn't seem too upset about. Hal goes to a NA group, and what he sees there shocks him. Gately is taken to the hospital, where he tries to explain that he can't be given drugs because he is a junkie. But he is unable to say anything. Different people from Enet house and staff come to see him, but no one seems to notice or care that he can't talk back. In a strange dream, Gately is visited by a wraith who turns out to be James Incandenza's ghost. During its visit, the ghost tells Hal that it made the entertainment as a last-ditch effort to talk to him. Joelle also comes, but it turns out that this was just a dream. Gately is getting more and more angry and scared when doctors try to give him drugs, but he still can't say what he wants to say. Gately started using drugs when he was a teenager, and he was finally kicked out of high school because of it. He then worked with Fackelman, a person who was addicted to Dilaudid, to collect bets for a gambler. Hugh/Helen steeply asks Joelle if there is a master copy of the entertainment. Joelle tells them that there probably isn't one, and if there is, it is probably buried with James. Hal sees a frightening work by his father that looks like a snuff picture. At the same time, the Swiss hand model, who turns out to be Luria P., and M. Fortier have put Oren in a glass cage. Luria fills the box with cockroaches to make Oren to say where the master copy of the entertainment is. This seems to prove that it was Oren who sent copies to people like the medical attaché. Oren gives in and says yes. Gately talks about the horrible moment when Fackelman was killed by a group of goons working for Sorkin, an angry bookie who had been scammed by Fackelman. The bad guys sewed Fackelman's eyes open and made him watch a film disc while they gave Gately a drug called Sunshine, which was very strong and nice. When Gately falls asleep from the sunshine, he wakes up on a beach, where he is lying on freezing sand.
About the author. David Foster Wallace was raised in Illinois by his parents, who were both teachers. He was a good youth tennis player, just like a few of the characters in Infinite Jest. At Amherst College, he double majored in English and philosophy. His senior honors thesis for English became The Broom and the System, his first book, which came out the same year he got his MFA in creative writing from the University of Arizona. In that year, he went to Harvard to get a PhD in philosophy, but he soon dropped out. Around this time, Wallace also started writing Infinite Jest. In 1989, he went to a mental hospital in Belmont, Massachusetts, for 4 months to get clean from drugs and booze. He was a teacher at Emerson College, Illinois State University, and Pomona College. He taught English and creative writing. At the beginning of the 1990s, he was obsessed with the writer Mary Karr. He followed her around and threatened to kill her husband. During the on and off romance that followed, he hit her. Wallace wrote Infinite Jest in 1996, and the next year he was given the MacArthur Genius Fellowship. Wallace wrote short stories and articles throughout his career. Some of his best-known works are A Supposedly Fun Thing I'll Never Do Again and Consider the Lobster. Wallace had problems with drugs and also was depressed for almost all of his adult life. In 2008, he killed himself. The Pale King, his last book, was released after he died in 2011.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.